Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Vanuatu Prime Minister cancels ex-IPL chief Lalit Modi's passport, cites rejection of India's alert request by Interpol. Lalit Modi is wanted in India for alleged financial irregularities. India and the European Union to begin the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. Liberal Party's Mark Carney to replace Justin Trudeau as Canada's Prime Minister, vows to keep tariffs until US shows respect. And a new Israeli delegation is due in the Qatari capital to resume indirect talks with Hamas on the Gaza truce. A very good afternoon to all our viewers who are joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest of the hour, India and the 27-nation European Union bloc will start the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. The talks are expected to focus on resolving remaining issues so that the agreement can be finalized by the end of this year. The talks in Brussels from the 10th of March till the 14th come immediately on the heels of top-level engagement between the two sides, with the European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen and a full college of commissioners visiting India late last month for detailed talks on the entire spectrum of the relationship. Now, India and the European Union are aiming to finalize a free trade agreement within this year. There have been a series of meetings between the two sides to facilitate the agreement. The latest being on the 28th of February this year, the second meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council, which was held in New Delhi. In 2020, the 15th India-European Union Summit was held in virtual mode on the 15th of July. On the 17th of June 2022, European Union relaunched its meeting, and India and European Union leaders met in Porto on the 8th of March in 2021, and an agreement was reached for resuming negotiations as well. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen established the India-EU Trade and Technology Council in the year 2022 in the month of April. Now, the European Union then relaunched negotiations with India for a free trade agreement on the 17th of June in the year 2022. In October 2022, a high-level dialogue on migration and mobility was instituted and held its sixth meeting. Now, the fourth round of the India-EU Strategic Partnership Review meeting was held on the 8th of May 2023 in New Delhi. And then on the 16th of May 2023, the India-European Union Trade and Technology Council meeting, they met in Brussels. India-European Union Free Trade Agreement Association signed the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement on the 10th of March in the year 2024. And to get us the latest on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent on Foreign Affairs, Jessica Taneja. Good afternoon, Jessica. Tell us the significance of the 10th round of India-EU Free Trade Agreement talks.
Good afternoon, Deepika. The 10th round of talks set to begin today and will continue till March 14th. This is taking place in Brussels, where both sides will meet, as we're given to understand. They should be meeting soon, as we are, to get more updates on this. One can understand the importance of this particular set of negotiations as recently as the European Union Commissioner, the European Commission's chief, in fact, Ursula von der Leyen was in India with 22 commissioners of the college, giving that increased significance to advancing or expediting the FTA with India that has been in the talks from the year 2007, of course, stalled for many years. Till then in 2013 when it was completely not discussed to a further extent, and then in 2022 to be picked up and paced till now. So what we've seen so far is there have been a number of issues discussed between the two sides, and the push for finalization before the India-EU summit begins in the national capital later this year. Not confirmed yet, but that is what where we could perhaps, if it does finish, could hear the announcement on major issues being ironed out. For example, from India's side, there were issues raised on tariff, non-tariff barriers, and also looking at limiting various other exports to India, especially when it comes to EU's agricultural products, whereas from the EU side there have been issues raised again on high import tariffs on spirits as well as other products, which especially the automobile sector as well, which the EU wants to push. Apart from that, India has raised concerns over overreaching ambitions when it comes to challenging or negotiating on the labour rights as well as environmental issues, particularly the issue of CBAM. These seem to be the point of contentions and will further be worked upon. We don't know to what effect will be the talks held today and what all issues are being discussed in particular in detail, because there are a host of issues when it comes to India-EU FTA that have been going on. But I expect the discussions on these lines, and especially India also demanding visas for its workers, especially when it comes to the Migration and Mobility Pact, and in a sense where India's goods and services sector has contributed significantly, particularly the services sector. We've seen the India-EU trade reach about more than 190 billion euros perhaps, and that is significant to the effect where both the EU and India would want to move ahead and expedite the whole process, as was also indicated by both the leaders, including the European Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi last week.
Apart from the automobile sector and the services sector, which all sectors are currently in focus, is agriculture also there? Jessica? Now, there seems to be some connectivity issue. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us and bringing us those highlights on what we are expecting out of the meeting. Now, India has free trade agreements with various countries that ensures easier access to foreign markets for Indian goods. Some of them are the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the UAE that allows preferential access to Indian goods in the region. Well, India and Australia entered into economic cooperation and trade agreement covering trade in goods, services, investment and related issues. Asia-Pacific Trade Agreement is a trade agreement between developing countries in the Asia-Pacific region and aims to promote intra-regional trade as well. Now, India-Singapore Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement also aims at strengthening bilateral trade. In the month of February 2025, the UK government announced that it was resuming negotiations with India with the aim of agreeing a free trade deal there. Moving on, in fresh trouble for former Indian Premier League chief Lalit Modi, the Vanuatu government has decided to cancel the passport issued to him. Now, the Vanuatu government said the attempts to escape extradition don't qualify as a legitimate reason to get citizenship in the South Pacific Ocean nation. Vanuatu's Prime Minister Jotem Napat on Monday directed the Citizenship Commission to cancel the passport issued to Lalit Modi, citing the rejection of Indian authorities' request for an Interpol alert due to insufficient evidence. Now, Lalit Modi, who's wanted in India for alleged financial irregularities, earlier filed an application with the Indian High Commission in London to surrender his Indian passport. The Vanuatu Prime Minister clarified that a Vanuatu passport is a privilege and not a right, and applicants must provide legitimate reasons for its citizenship. Prime Minister Napat said that in recent years, the Vanuatu government has strengthened the due diligence process for its citizenship by investment program, resulting in more applications failing enhanced scrutiny by the Vanuatu Financial Intelligence Unit. And Anil Thomas joins us more with more inputs. Now, Anil, why are these island nations specifically chosen by fugitives, and what kind of benefits do they get when they do this, Anil?
Well, good afternoon, Deepika. Well, very much on expected lines, approaching these kind of islands that exist on the planet. This particular move that Lalit Modi is making taken is an island that exists between Australia and Fiji. And these islands are very comfortable for the simple reason they have these golden passports that are available that come for close to $150,000, or roughly, if you put it in Indian currency, around 1.3 crore rupees that one needs to pay to get these passports. Why are these islands considered as in heaven? Because this is where these are safe islands. They have tax holidays there that are available for individuals and businesses. That's not all. If one puts it in Indian perspective, the total population in these islands, close to 83 small islands that exist, 65 that have been inhabited. The total population is close to, if one may compare it with Delhi's neighboring cities, maybe a city like Noida, close to 3 lakh people that exist. The entire GDP is close to 1 billion. And these kinds of countries offer a safe window for people to apply online. The passports are available, the citizenship are available in as good as 1 month. And that's not all. There is a travel window to close to 107 countries that exist. That's visa-free travel that includes the UK and the European Union. That's why these countries are very important. And Lalit Modi must have got an idea that these countries gives him bigger window to travel, bigger window where extradition treaties that does not exist with India can be exploited. And that's the very reason that he's used the island, especially these islands, to get citizenship. But there is always a mistake that Lalit Modi makes. He gets boisterous about the achievements that he makes even before things are very much under control. And within 72 hours, he moved 1 step forward, 3 steps behind with this particular move, this cancellation of his passport and also surrendering his Indian citizenship.
And what has been the stand of Vanuatu's Prime Minister on his country's citizenship status, as he said that it's a matter of privilege?
It's true. Remember, there has been check and balance that the Prime Minister's office has done when this particular matter was raised by the Indian High Commissioner in New Zealand, along with other countries, that form a part of the global South. Pressure was built. Remember, this particular country, banks on India on many things, especially when it comes to trade and also when it comes to training for their citizens. And I think, once this matter was brought to the notice of the MEA, during that Friday briefing, this matter was taken on a priority, especially with regards to him getting citizenship, Lalit Modi getting citizenship, and also a window of opportunity that exists for him to travel within UK, 207 countries without visa. That makes the extradition process even more difficult. Now, what happens is with Lalit Modi submitting his passport and he losing his citizenship to the country that he's just applied, it leaves the Indian authorities with more window to tighten the noose around Lalit Modi. He doesn't have much of a travel window that exists. If Indian government, Indian authorities can push ahead with the extradition treaty now, Lalit Modi, would find himself in a catch-22 situation. Not much of room for him to leeway, but clearly, this leaves Lalit Modi in a corner that he is not comfortable, and something that he will have to think out of the box with his team of lawyers to get out of this mess.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Anil, for joining us and bringing us the latest on the current issue. Thank you. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Mauritius all set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will be on a 2-day state visit to the island nation. Up next, we'll get you all the latest details on Armenian Foreign Affairs Minister's visit to New Delhi. After the break, all the latest with Ground Zero inputs from ongoing Parliament's budget session in India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now, excitement is brewing in Mauritius ahead of the two-day state visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during which he will also be the chief guest for the National Day of Mauritius. The Indian diaspora, which comprises about 70% of Mauritius's population, is preparing to welcome the Prime Minister of India there. DD India's correspondent Akshay Dongre brings you this report from Port Louis in Mauritius. Take a look.
It may appear that where I'm standing right now is a part of an Indian city or town, but you'd be surprised to know that I'm thousands of miles away from the Indian borders. This is the capital of Mauritius, a country, an island nation that has about 70% of people are of Indian descent here, and that is the reason why the Indian heritage, the Indian culture has been preserved over hundreds of years. And in fact, you can see still there are people who cherish their Indian heritage, their Indian lineage and their Indian culture with the Indian delicacies that are served here around the country, the kind of music that is cherished by the people, and the kind of cultural connect that Mauritius has with India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is arriving in Mauritius on 11th of March to attend the National Day of Mauritius, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be attending as the chief guest in Mauritius. Both the countries have robust ties in terms of trade, in terms of cultural connect, in terms of people-to-people connect as well. With camera person Mahesh Sharma, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And the Indian High Commissioner to Mauritius, Anurag Srivastav, has shared key insights ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming state visit. Akshay Dongre spoke to him ahead of the visit and brings us this exclusive report. Take a listen.
Excitement is brewing up in Mauritius as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to arrive in the country. Both the countries share very close relations, but with this state visit of Prime Minister, the relations are expected to grow to newer heights. And to talk about the state visit, we have the Ambassador of India to Mauritius, Mr. Anurag Srivastav. Sir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to come and be the chief guest of the National Day of Mauritius. How significant do you think is this visit by the Prime Minister?
This is a very significant visit. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's visit, which is coming up on the 11th and 12th of March, is on the invitation of Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, and Prime Minister Modi has been invited to be the chief guest at the National Day celebrations of Mauritius on the 12th of March. The date 12th March is of great significance to both countries. It is, of course, the day when Mauritius became independent. It was also the day when it was declared as a republic. But at the same time, this day was particularly chosen for a certain reason. This is the day when Mahatma Gandhi started his Dandi March from Sabarmati Ashram. So it is a day which holds significance to both countries. This visit is very high on symbolism. It is also very high in terms of our substantive outcomes and content. Because this is a truly special relationship.
Do you think this people-to-people connect is perhaps one of the very rare kind of connect that you see around the world between two countries?
Absolutely. This is a truly special relationship, as I said, because it is placed on the bedrock of our strong people-to-people ties. And these shared bonds of history, the shared bonds of culture, heritage and kinship that bind us together is the strength of the relationship. But at the same time, I must add that this relationship has evolved into a modern partnership which is very multifaceted. So Mauritius is our partner in terms of our interests in the Indian Ocean region. It is a maritime security partner. We have a development partnership relationship with Mauritius.
Indian High Commissioner to Mauritius, Mr. Anurag Srivastav, telling us about all the preparations that are going on and the excitement that is brewing up in this island nation for the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. With camera person Ajit Kumar, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Now, excitement has gripped women from the Indian community as well in Mauritius as they prepare a special dance performance for a ceremony which will be attended by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the island nation. DD India correspondent Akshay brings you this report. Take a look.
We are in Mauritius right now, and despite being thousands of miles away geographically, India and Mauritius are as close culturally and traditionally as two nations can be together. We have a group of dancers here who will be performing for Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he comes here. So first of all, I'll begin with you. Ma'am, what are the preparations?
We are all very excited and happy for the Honorable Prime Minister of India visit in Mauritius. Right. And also we are going to perform a welcome song on his honor, and a folk dance. And we all are very happy and glad to perform in front of the Prime Minister of India.
What other things do you think that bind India and Mauritius culturally together?
Mauritius is considered to be a small India. So here, just like India, we celebrate Holi, Diwali, Mahashivratri.
Right.
So we are very happy to welcome Modi ji here. And we are also doing classical dance Kathak, which is also part of India. So you can see it's a bundle of cultures.
So the relation is really very strong for India and Mauritius, because as my friend just said, the culture, the festivals, everything is just same.
Right.
The little India here, all the cultures, the people, we are all together. So that togetherness that we have in Mauritius, it's the same in India.
This is a special movement and a special guest is coming, and that's why these kind of special performances are being practiced by the people of Mauritius. With camera person Mahesh Sharma, Makshi Dongre, DD India.
Now, New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon is all set to travel to India from the 16th till the 20th of March as Delhi-Wellington plans to firm up the ties with a focus on the wider Indo-Pacific region. Now, this would be the first visit to India by Prime Minister Luxon in his present capacity. During his visit, the Prime Minister will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 17th of March, covering various aspects of India-New Zealand relationship. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will host a lunch in the honour of the visiting dignitary. A call on President Draupadi Murmu is also scheduled on the same day. The visiting Prime Minister will also join the inaugural session of the 10th Raisina Dialogue on the 17th of March in New Delhi as the chief guest and deliver keynote address. Armenian Foreign Affairs Minister Ararat Mirzoyan will meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in New Delhi on Monday. The Armenian Foreign Minister arrived in New Delhi on Sunday on a two-day visit. During his visit, the foreign dignitary will also deliver a lecture at the Indian Council of World Affairs. Armenian Foreign Affairs Minister Mirzoyan earlier visited India in the year 2022 to participate in Raisina Dialogue. India and Armenia share friendly relationship rooted in historical ties between the people of the two countries. In 2022, the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Armenia was celebrated. Moving on. The second leg of the budget session of India's parliament is currently underway. Both the houses began their sitting at 11 a.m. local time this morning with the question hour followed by the zero hour. However, following ruckus in both the houses of the Indian Parliament by the opposition over demands of discussions on the voter ID card issues and that of the issue of Manipur, both the houses, which are Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the upper and the lower house, have been adjourned till 2 p.m. local time. Following protest and sloganeering, Union Minister and Leader of the upper house, BJP's JP Nadda, lashed out at the opposition for not allowing the protocols and rules of the house. And now I'm joined by DD India correspondent Dipendu, straight from the Parliament. Good afternoon, Dipendu. What is the latest update that we are tracking from the proceedings of the Parliament?
Well, Deepika, the Parliament was adjourned till 2 p.m. following the ruckus which we witnessed in both the houses of Parliament, which is the upper and the lower house. And also, the leader of the house in the Rajya Sabha, JP Nadda, did lash out at the opposition for not allowing the smooth functioning of and the conduct of business in both the houses of Parliament. And he did remind the opposition that it is their prerogative to ensure that the Parliament runs in accordance to the laws and protocols of the Parliament, and successful businesses are conducted while the Parliament is in session. So, of course, after the 2 p.m. adjournment, both the houses are currently functioning, and sittings are currently underway in both the houses of Parliament. While in the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house, Nirmala Sitharaman did present the budget for Manipur, and why for Manipur is also because the fact that Manipur has been put under President's rule recently, and the budget and the demand for grant for the state of Manipur has to be now passed by the Parliament. While in the lower house, in the Lok Sabha, different bills of the government are being taken into consideration and discussed. Currently, the bill for landing, which is a bill that has been brought in by the Ministry of Shipping and Ports and Waterways, is currently has been put to table. and are currently being debated and discussed in the Lok Sabha.
Thank you. Thank you, Dibyendu, for joining us and bringing us the latest on Parliament proceedings. Now, India's President Draupadi Murmu addressed the convocation ceremony of Guru Jambeshwar University in northern state of Haryana on Monday. India's President Draupadi Murmu is on a 3-day visit to Haryana, Chandigarh and Punjab from the 10th till the 12th of March. Lauding the new national education policy, President Murmu said that it will bring significant changes and will help the students with better and increased employment opportunities. During the convocation, Governor Bandaru Dattaria and Chief Minister Nayab Singh Saini were also present.
देश के संतुलित और सतत विकास के लिए ये भी आवश्यक है कि एजुकेशन और टेक्नोलॉजी का लाभ गांव-गांव तक पहुंचे। शिक्षा प्रणाली में समय की मांग के अनुसार महत्वपूर्ण बदलाव लाने के लिए राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 लागू की गई है। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के अनुरूप ग्रहण की गई शिक्षा विद्यार्थियों में मौलिक सोच और रचनात्मक क्षमता को बढ़ावा देंगी और रोजगार के बेहतर अवसर उपलब्ध कराएगी।
Indian Navy's mission-deployed warship INS Tarkash provided timely technical and medical assistance to an Iranian dhow and its injured crew off the Somali coast. On receiving a distress call, INS Tarkash swiftly responded to the emergency. The ship's crew expertly operationalized the dhow's defective reverse osmosis plant, restoring access to drinking water on board. Additionally, the ship's medical team provided first aid to an injured crew member who had sustained injuries due to inclement weather. This shows Indian Navy's commitment to ensuring safety and security in the Indian Ocean region. A new aerial direction has now begun in Chhattisgarh's Jashpur district, where National Cadet Corps cadets will receive flying training. Now, this significant initiative, which is a crucial step in teaching NCC cadets across the country the art of excellent aircraft operations, will now bring new hope and opportunities in Jashpur. With the establishment of this training centre, the youth cadets of Chhattisgarh will have a unique opportunity to enhance their skills in the field of flying and reaching higher standards. More than 100 NCC cadets will be trained in flying and will be taught how the pilots are made in the Indian Air Force and how aircraft takes off. This initiative will also prove to be a significant contribution to the country's military development and security. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the country in brief. The first rare fuselage for light combat aircraft Mk-1A was handed over to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in the presence of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh at Aircraft Division in Bengaluru, Karnataka. The award ceremony for the first edition of E-Toycathon 2025 was held on Saturday. Organized by CDAC under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technologies Research Initiatives, the event aimed at fostering innovation in the toy sector by providing a platform for young researchers and innovators to develop indigenous and sustainable solutions. India's Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupender Yadav, shared the news of the first great Indian bustard chick to hatch in western Indian state of Rajasthan's Jaisalmer city. Now, this is the first chick to hatch successfully in captivity in the year 2025. Project GIB team was overseeing the whole process. We are heading for a short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. The US hostage envoy to Gaza held unprecedented direct talks with Hamas and termed the meeting as very helpful. North Korea fires missile as South Korea begins drills with the US. And Seoul police ready for Yoon impeachment verdict day. Welcome back after that short break. Let's now quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Vanuatu Prime Minister cancels ex-IPL chief Lalit Modi's passport, cites rejection of India's alert request by Interpol. Lalit Modi is wanted in India for alleged financial irregularities. India and the European Union to begin the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. Liberal Party's Mark Carney to replace Justin Trudeau as Canada's Prime Minister, vows to keep tariffs until US shows respect. And a new Israeli delegation is due in the Qatari capital to resume indirect talks with Hamas on the Gaza truce. Mark Carney is going to be Canada's new Prime Minister after Liberal Party overwhelmingly elected him to replace Justin Trudeau. Carney won 85.9% of the ballot cast in the Liberal Party leadership vote, though the elections must be held by October.
In first place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote.
My government will put into action our plan to build a stronger economy, to create new trading relationships with reliable trading partners, and to secure our borders.
The 59-year-old economist has been influential in both Canada and England. Mark Carney was born near the Arctic in a small town of Fort Smith in the Northwest Territories. He studied at Harvard in the United States and Oxford in England, and the initial part of his career saw him make a fortune as an investment banker at the Goldman Sachs, shuffling base between New York, London, Tokyo, and Toronto. Carney then joined the Canadian Civil Service, eventually being appointed Governor of the Bank of Canada in 2008. In 2013, the then British Prime Minister David Cameron tapped him to lead the Bank of England. Carney became the first non-Briton to lead the bank in its more than 300-year history. Carney will be the first Canadian Prime Minister with no political experience. He has never held an elected public office or served in a government cabinet. Carney swept the polls on the plank of standing up to the threats of the US President Donald Trump.
There's someone who's trying to do the opposite. There's someone who's trying to weaken our economy. Yeah, Donald Trump. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't. We won't.
Carney may not be the Prime Minister for long, with a general election due soon that the opposition Conservatives are slight favourites to win according to the polls. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
Now, the US hostage envoy to Gaza, Adam Boehler, held unprecedented direct talks with Hamas and termed the meeting as very helpful. Boehler said he understood Israel's consternation that the United States had held talks at all with the group, but said he had been seeking to jumpstart the fragile negotiations. He was confident a hostage release deal could be reached within weeks. Last week, US President Donald Trump threatened further destruction of Gaza if all remaining hostages were not released, issuing what he called as a last warning to Hamas leaders. Of the 251 hostages taken by the Hamas terrorists during the October 7 attack, 58 remain in Gaza, including 5 Americans, of which 4 have been confirmed dead. Israel is sending a delegation to Doha for further Gaza truce talks on Monday, while Hamas demands negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, including a full Israeli withdrawal and the lifting of the blockade. Israel seeks to extend the truce until mid-April. Protests in Tel Aviv call for securing hostages. DD India's Mihir Maikuri has more. Take a look.
Israel is preparing to send a delegation to Doha for further talks on the Gaza truce on Monday, as Hamas calls for the immediate start of negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, which it hopes will bring a permanent end to the war. Over the weekend, Hamas representatives met with mediators in Cairo, emphasizing the urgent need for unrestricted humanitarian aid to re-enter Gaza, which has been under siege for months. Hamas's key demands for the second phase of the ceasefire includes a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, the lifting of the Israeli blockade, the reconstruction of Palestinian territory, and financial support to rebuild the region. On the other hand, Israel seeks an extension of the truce's first phase until mid-April. The first phase of the truce, which ended on March 1, brought 6 weeks of relative calm, including the exchange of 25 Israeli hostages and 8 bodies for about 1,800 Palestinian prisoners. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, thousands of Israeli protesters gathered outside the defense ministry, demanding the government secure a hostage deal with Hamas.
The majority of the Israelis are for bringing back the hostages and against starting some military actions back. This is, you can see it in every public poll, and it's very clear. The problem is the government and Mr. Netanyahu.
How these talks unfold and lead to an end to the war will be something interesting to watch. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
And in an effort to pressure Hamas into releasing hostages, Israel ordered an immediate halt to Gaza's electricity supply on Sunday. Israel's decision comes a week after it blocked all aid supplies to the war-battered territory. Hamas described the electricity cut as a blackmail, a term it had also used after Israel blocked the aid. Now, Syria's interim President Ahmad al-Shara has launched an investigation after hundreds of people were killed in fighting between security forces and the loyalists of deposed President Bashar al-Assad. In a televised speech, Ahmad Shara vowed to hunt down the perpetrators of violent clashes after reports of mass killings.
We confirm that we will hold accountable with all firmness and without leniency anyone who was involved in the bloodshed of civilians or harmed our people, or who exceeded the powers of the state or exploited power to achieve his own goals.
In its latest poll on Monday, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights War Monitor said 973 civilians had perished since the 6th of March in the coastal heartland of the Alawite minority community to which the toppled president belongs. United Nations Rights Chief Volker Turk said on Sunday that the killings must cease immediately, while the Arab League, the United Nations, the United States, Britain and other governments have condemned the violence. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is all set to visit Saudi Arabia on Monday for key talks with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, this comes ahead of a crucial meeting between Ukrainian and US officials later this week. The discussions also aim at establishing a framework for ending Ukraine's ongoing conflict with Russia, but with US aid to Kyiv currently paused, the stakes are high. Here's more.
As clashes continue in Ukraine, the efforts to secure peace will hinge upon a crucial meeting in Saudi Arabia this week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will hold key talks with Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday. This will be followed by Ukrainian representatives meeting with the American team on Tuesday. Zelensky has vowed to persist in efforts to end the conflict. He is pushing for renewed peace efforts and has expressed hope for progress in talks.
We will continue working to bring peace closer. There will be my visit to Saudi Arabia. Also today, the meeting saw our teams, Ukraine and the United States in Saudi Arabia, is further prepared. We hope for results both in preparing closer and in continuing support.
US President Donald Trump expressed optimism, saying that he believed significant progress would be made during the week.
Let's see what happens with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. I think you're going to have eventually, and maybe not in the distant future, you can have some pretty good results coming out of Saudi Arabia this week? Well, I think they will sign the minerals deal, but I want them to want peace.
The US is planning to use Tuesday's meeting to determine whether Ukraine is willing to make concessions to end the conflict. US will also determine whether Ukraine is indeed serious about improving ties. The talks come after last month's disastrous meeting between Trump and Zelensky, which erupted into a live verbal spat.
Not in a very good position.
The meeting in Saudi Arabia will decide whether the US support to Ukraine resume or the stance toughens further. Without some concessions, the prospects of a handshake look slim. European nations have pledged to increase defense spending, but NATO data shows that last year, Washington provided over 40% of Ukraine's military aid, something that Europe may now struggle to replace. Anamika Pandey's report, DD India.
Billionaire Elon Musk vowed on Sunday to keep Ukraine's Starlink communication network operational despite growing tensions over US policy. The United States has suspended military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine after a disastrous 28th of February meeting between Presidents Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House. Now, this has led to fears that Musk might cut off Ukrainian access to Starlink communication system, which is used extensively by Kyiv. On Sunday, during exchanges on X social media platform, Musk promised that this would not be the case after an online clash with the Polish foreign minister that ruined US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski challenged Musk, warning that Poland funds Starlink access and could seek alternatives. Musk fired back, calling Sikorski as a small man. The clash escalated as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio sided with Musk, insisting Ukraine would have lost the conflict without Starlink. Now, South Korea's military on Monday said that North Korea detected multiple unidentified ballistic missiles from Gyeonggi province into the West Sea. The event occurred on the same day as Seoul and Washington began a major annual joint military drill known as Freedom Shield, which they describe as defensive in nature. South Korea's military said they are maintaining a full readiness posture under close cooperation with the United States while ramping up surveillance and vigilance. The United States stations tens of thousands of US soldiers in South Korea, and the allies regularly stage joint drills, which they describe as defensive in nature. According to a US statement, the exercise will run until the 20th of March. Meanwhile, North Korea condemned combined South Korea-US military exercises as a dangerous provocative act, citing the risk of an accidental shooting sparking a physical confrontation. Now, South Korean police are prepared to mobilize all available equipment to prevent unrest when a court announces whether it upholds the impeachment of the country's suspended president. The Constitutional Court is expected to announce its decision on the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol this month over his declaration of the martial law, with both supporters and opponents of the disgraced leader set to gather in Seoul streets. Yoon's short-lived suspension of civilian rule plunged democratic South Korea into political turmoil, and he was detained in a dawn raid in January on insurrection grounds, although released over the weekend on procedural grounds. His supporters have already stormed the Seoul court once, smashing the doors and windows of a district court in Seoul after a judge there extended Yoon's detention, and the authorities have now warned of violence around the impending verdict. And now it's time to take a look at stories making news around the globe in brief. A group of migrants deported to Panama from the US were released from a remote shelter in Darien region after a temporary permit was granted to them by the government. The permit will allow them to stay in the country for up to 90 days if they do not wish to return to their home countries for security reasons. Firefighters continue fighting the huge fire that has been burning for 6 days in the historic center of Lima. While the authorities claim that 90% of the fire is under control, still nearly 100 firefighters are working to bring equipment closer by clearing rubble from partially collapsed buildings. Japan began auctioning the emergency stockpiles of rice on Monday, starting with the first batch of 150,000 tons due to supply chain issues. Authorities have clarified that a fifth of the total stock will be released after prices doubled last year due to various natural causes. The Statue of Peace has been reinstalled in Germany on Saturday with a one-year limit. The statue symbolizes Japan's wartime slavery of women, termed as comfort women. The statue was removed by the Kassel University authorities 2 years back. We are heading for a short break, but still to come on the other side. US President refuses to rule out the possibility of country's economy heading into recession. Strikes at several German airports today expected to affect travel plans of more than 500,000 people. And early blooming cherry blossom festival in Japan. We'll get you the visuals.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of business. US President Donald Trump on Sunday refused to rule out the possibility that the US economy will head into recession this year and that inflation will rise as his trade tariff policies cause uncertainty and market turbulence. Here's more.
Donald Trump's unpredictable decisions on the fate of sweeping tariffs is upending the market's movements as mystery remains on the course he intends to take. Starting in February, Trump announced 25% tariffs on the United States' neighboring countries. Those were delayed for a month and were supposed to come into effect from March 4th until Trump decided on March 5th to pause tariffs on automakers for another month. He again changed to course, pausing tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods until April. Trump continues to make changes. On Friday, he threatened new tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy products. Those tariffs could go into effect on Monday. Trump sought to downplay the impact his back and forth trade announcements have had on financial markets, saying the tariffs on Mexico and Canada are part of his long-term strategy and could go up in the future.
What I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market.
And as trade tensions have led to worries that a recession could be looming, Trump declined to hazard a guess whether the United States will experience one in 2025.
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time.
Meanwhile, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick indicated the tariffs that could go into effect on April 2nd will continue until Trump is comfortable with how both countries are handling the flow of fentanyl. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum claimed that dialogue and respect had prevailed in achieving a pause on U.S. tariffs.
We are not extremists, but we are clear that there are some inalienable principles. We can't give up on our sovereignty. Our people cannot be affected by the decisions made by foreign governments or hegemonies. In this case, we'll act immediately.
In a message to U.S. President Donald Trump, Canada's next Prime Minister Carney pledged to keep retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods until Americans show us respect.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country. Think about it. If they succeeded, they would destroy our way of life.
Seesaw tariff announcements have unnerved Wall Street as investors say flip-flopping moves by the Trump administration to roll back levies on trading partners are causing confusion rather than bringing relief. The statements do not assure the investors on the Wall Street and across the globe that the roller coaster ride of the markets is going to end soon. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Wall Street futures sank and the yen and Swiss franc strengthened on Monday as building deflationary pressures in China that added to growth worries and an escalating global trade war. US S&P 500 stock futures pointed 0.5% lower and Nasdaq futures sagged 0.6%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng slumped 1.8% and an index of mainland Chinese blue chips eased 0.7%. Taiwan's equity benchmark slipped 0.5%, although Japan's Nikkei was 0.4% higher after flipping between small gains and losses. The yen strengthened some 0.3%, while the franc firmed 0.2%. European markets offered a bright spot though, with pan-European stocks 500 futures pointing up 0.55%. US Treasury yield slid, with the 10-year yield dropping as much as 6 basis points and the 2-year yield tipping 4.5 basis points. The US dollar index added 0.1%, reversing earlier small losses. The euro edged up slightly to 1.9 and sterling was little changed to $1.2917. Cryptocurrency Bitcoin lost as much as 7.2% from Friday to reach the lowest this month. The long-awaited executive order on creating the reserve came on Friday, but disappointed many investors by saying there would be no additional buying of Bitcoin. Now, strikes at several German airports today are expected to affect the travel plans of more than 500,000 people. Joining us with more is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimpelu in Berlin. Now, Chiponda, how much disruption can be expected today?
Thanks for having me. Well, more than 3,400 flights are expected to be cancelled at 13 German airports amid the strikes, which began early morning. Now, Germany's largest trade union, Verdi, said the strike will end a minute before midnight, and around 23,000 workers who are responsible for checking in travelers and baggage handling are expected to be part of today's work stoppage. And that is why it is expected to lead to massive travel disruption. So it isn't airline workers who are striking, but individuals who play a key role in air travel. And that means even transit passengers flying through a German airport today will be affected. Frankfurt International and Munich International, which are of course major hubs for international travel, are also impacted. On Friday, Frankfurt International already warned that it is highly unlikely that any flight will depart from the airport today, and it advised passengers to avoid heading to the airport. So anyone traveling via a German airport should check with their airline about their flight.
All right, thank you so much, Ipona, for joining us and bringing us the latest information on this. And now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports, to begin with cricket first. The men in blue have etched their name in history once again, securing their third ICC Men's Champions Trophy title with a hard-fought 4-wicket victory over New Zealand in a gripping final at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Rohit Sharma's brilliant play, Shreyas Iyer's valuable 48 and the exceptional spell by Indian bowlers were truly magical. Here's more.
The sheer brilliance of India's spin attack, the tactical masterclass from Captain Rohit Sharma, and the unwavering support from the stands. March 9th will be etched in the memories of cricket fans for years to come. India clinched a thrilling 4-wicket win over New Zealand in the final of the Champions Trophy 2025 to clinch the ICC event for a record-breaking third time. On a pitch that became increasingly challenging for batting, India successfully chased down New Zealand's target of 252 with 6 balls still to spare. Captain Rohit Sharma led from the front with a composed 76 runs, while Shreyas Iyer contributed a valuable 48. KL Rahul also applied the finishing touches with an unbeaten 34 runs. Kuldeep Yadav made a significant impact, dismissing both Rachin Ravindra and Kane Williamson with deliveries that showcased his exceptional skill. India's mystery spinner Varun Chakravarti also took 2 wickets. The stadium transformed into a sea of Indian blue on Sunday. Every boundary, every wicket was met with a roar that seemed to echo Indian dominance in all corners of the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Fans across the globe went into a wild rupture after the victory, filling the streets late in the night to celebrate the march of the men in blue. Indian fans present at Dubai was simply ecstatic.
Rohit played an amazing game. Especially KL Rahul in the end, he batted so well. We loved how it all played out. We loved how confident and calm they were in the end, and it's something that was worthy watching.
Thanks to KL, he managed. He doesn't get his due, but this time, KL, we love you. Thank you for getting the trophy home, guys.
Good job, Rohit Sharma, Hardik Pandya, and Rahul. They really made us very proud. Thank you.
And the rest of the team as well.
With this historic win, India has reaffirmed their dominance in the world of cricket, etching another golden chapter in their illustrious legacy. Sports Desk, DD India.
And before we go, it's now time to get you some amazing visuals as the visitors enjoy the final day of a cherry blossom festival featuring an early blooming variety, Kawazu Sakura, in central Japan on Sunday. The variety is said to have been found in Kawazu town in Shizuoka prefecture around 1955. The event that began on the 1st of February was extended due to the cold weather by 9 days, allowing the visitors to witness the trees in full bloom. And that's all for this edition of the India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India with me, Deepika. Thank you so much for joining us here in New Delhi. Namaskar.